Black women are like?
Black women are the fastest growing businesses in the country.
Why do you think that is?
Hi, and welcome to the Earn Up. I'm Belva Anakwenze, and I know you're used to seeing me talk about financial tips and tricks, but today I have a very special guest. I have a comedian extraordinaire with us, Angel Laketa Moore. She is a content creator, a mother, a wife, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and more. Angel, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me, Belva.
So tell me more about all of your creative endeavors and how this has become a full-time business for you.
Oh, there is a lot that I'm doing. You are correct. I started off as an actress. I got my training. I got my MFA from UC Irvine. I moved up to Los Angeles. I started working, and then I became pregnant with my first son. And I was like, no one is gonna hire me while I'm pregnant. So that's when I went into becoming a stand-up comedian as well as a content creator, because I needed some place to put all of this creative energy. And at the time, I didn't see it as a lucrative thing, just more of a creative thing. I really started taking content creation seriously. I noticed that my voice was needed to show mothers the raw and authentic point of view of motherhood, but through a comedic lens, because it's not always tears and I don't get to sleep. Sometimes it's funny. As I began doing more content creating, podcasting became something that I began to get into. And then I was like, you know what? I want to get into merchandising. So I created my own self-care box specifically for Black mothers called Mama Like. So there's been a lot of little pots that I've been putting myself into, but I also feel like, why not? I have a saying, it's called white boy confidence is what I call it. I have seen several white men just have an idea and execute it. They might not have had the experience to do it, but they've had the confidence that it could work out. And so that has been my mantra for the past 10 years, is just, you know what? Where's a little white boy confidence in you?
It's interesting you say that, because I have a client that wrote a book, and in her thank yous at the end of the book, she wrote, I want to thank Belva so much for always making sure I get paid like the white person in the room.
Yes.
And so I understand the ideology of wanting to be treated or have the same energy as the white boys in the room, right?
When you see that their effort is being rewarded with a certain amount of salary, I can see how their response to that would make them feel way more confident to take risks, versus when you feel like you're working harder than everyone, you're coming up with ideas that are being dismissed, but then recognized when it's coming out of someone else's mouth. It kind of makes that confidence dissipate very quickly, but I'm trying to work past that, because I know it's just not my generation. I can only imagine how bad it was my mother's generation or the generation before that.
Well, as a whole, marginalized communities aren't often invested in emotionally, right? There's no one telling us, baby, it's okay. It's okay that you are viewed differently than the masses. And that's a beautiful thing. Use that to your power. And in society, it showed us that not until recently that being a person of color or being non-binary or being gay, right? No one was telling us that this was okay in the media space.
Yeah.
So we weren't believing it ourselves. And so now that we have this influx of content and people who are making a great living, giving us self-awareness of being okay, being who you are. You are perfect the way you are. So part of it is also just stepping out of our comfort zone and having the bravery. If we don't have someone pushing us and undergirding us,
right,
it comes from within.
I know that there's like a stat that like in the realm of entrepreneurs and business owners that Black women are like.
Black women are the fastest growing businesses in the country.
Why do you think that is?
I think we are realizing our worth. Now we see so many women doing it.
Yeah.
We see so many comedians, so many actresses, so many musicians that are actually out here living their dreams. Oh my God, that can be me. I mean, we are running multi-billion-dollar companies that we've created.
Yeah.
And that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Me having ownership has changed my financial trajectory in ways that I couldn't imagine. Before being a creator, I was at the mercy of nameless people half of the time. People who didn't know me, people who just would be like, you know what? We want somebody a little shorter. We want somebody a little rough around the edges. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm now worried about feeding my kids because you need somebody rough around the edges. When we have been in a life where there has been scarcity around money, we watched our parents be paycheck to paycheck. We've been paycheck to paycheck. and then we feel a little bit of abundance come in, it's kind of hard to not be afraid of going back to that other life. So we begin to manage our finances that way. What have you noticed to be the best technique to kind of push past that place of being able to know, yes, money could run out, but there are things you can do that will allow you to enjoy the hard work and the revenue you're bringing in while also providing stability and security for the future?
So much of what we do is because of the lens we now look through life. And we look through life now based on our lens of our life experiences.
Yeah.
And if you come from a marginalized community, your experience could be a mindset of scarcity, of trauma, abuse. And I don't even mean like physical, like it could be financial trauma, financial abuse, right? And so oftentimes it's about changing our mindset so that our lens no longer sees scarcity, but our lens sees the possibility of abundance.
How do you advise your clients on what is like, yes, bet on yourself, and what is, yeah, you do this, you might end up back in scarcity again? Those are the things that pull me all the time of, oh, if this lands, you're about to reach a place that you probably never thought was possible. If this doesn't land, you're gonna be a lot closer to step one than you think.
You have to, as a business owner, as the brand of Angel, you have to make calculated risks. When you look at all the big brands that are out there, right? There's always a calculated risk. Walt Disney had this crazy idea to build a theme park in the middle of Florida. This actually makes no sense. Why would you do this? Who was gonna come? I just got back not too long ago. I think you just got back not too long ago, right?
Yes, I did.
And so you have to make the calculated risks. And every risk is not a good one, right? But you have to start weighing the options. Maybe I can't do these 5 things, but this one really makes the most sense.
So especially with my Mama Likes box, my subscription box, I have been so fearful of putting more money into it, even though I know the audience exists and I know the audience needs something like this. But I feel like I've missed opportunities because of my fear regarding investing money back into my own business.
The fear is valid, it's real. Again, you're coming through your own lens, right? Your lens of experience. And if you're scared to, go all in, that's okay. Why don't you try doing minimal incremental changes to see if the return on investment's worth it? You may miss the big piece, but you can gradually get to that same reward just over time.
What I feel like I'm getting from you overall that I think is beneficial for any creator is having a professional look at their finances.
And I know that's hard. I mean, but somebody making $40,000 or $50,000 still needs someone to help advise them, because actually you are creative. This is not what you do. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And so whether you're making $40,000 a year or $4 million a year, you should still be talking to somebody on an ongoing basis to understand where you are, what things you should be doing, how you should be doing things differently. But that leads me to one other thing that I want to talk about that I think is a big issue in marginalized communities. And that's kind of knowing who to trust. Oftentimes people are asking the right questions, but sometimes they're asking those questions from the wrong people.
So how do you find the right people though, Belva? Not everybody can get to you.
You are correct. But I think it all starts with one, looking in your peer group, your friend that's doing what you're doing. Who are they using? And make sure you're asking the right questions of the right people. And I think that is the first stepping stone. And then just don't be scared to ask the questions. I also think it's very important to seek advisors that understand your industry. The entertainment industry, the creators industry is very niche, very unique, and there's rules that apply to this industry that don't apply to people making widgets. The next thing would be oversight. You've all heard the horror stories.
Girl, yes.
And they're real.
Yes.
But it comes from not providing the right oversight. Ask the questions. And if someone's irritated with your questions, they're not the right person. You should be able to have authentic, open conversations the same way you would with your doctor and really be vulnerable so that the person understands your needs, your desires. Because again, this is very emotional. And so if you can't have a real conversation, that person's not a good fit.
I do think it's sometimes easier said than done. If you're a creative color, you're one of the first people to do it in your circle of friends, to branch out into this industry in this way. You don't have a lot of peers to be able to check in with to say, hey, how has it been with this person for the past 10 years? Have you ever had of the IRS knocking at your door telling you they're seizing your home or whatever. We've seen people in the news. Think of Steve Harvey having to pay back all that money that somebody was stealing from him. You know what I'm saying? You're thinking, if this man, it can happen to him, it can sure enough happen to me.
Of course. And that's why I said you have to trust your instincts. And if you cannot have real, authentic conversations, if someone is skirting you, someone's not being very candid or clear about what happened, owning their mistakes, I'm a human. I make mistakes for sure, but when I make them, you know that I've made them. I correct it, and I make sure you're whole. If any of my clients came to me and said, hey, I want to have another set of eyes, look at this. Cool.
That's good.
No worries.
That's good.
They can look at it. We'll pay for an audit if you want to every couple years. Not a big deal to me. You have to do your due diligence, but always, always, always trust your gut and make sure there's no red flags. I mean, from the clients I have from these marginalized communities, I see some common trends. One is putting trust in the wrong people, so misplaced trust, right? Not gaining access to information, because sometimes it's hear no evil, see no evil, say no evil. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to your money, right? You should actually be informed. And I think the other piece is it's really time to own our content, own our future, right? Stop depending on everyone else to make a way for us.
Yes.
And make your own way.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things that are most important in propelling the next generation of marginalized community in this creator community. Angel, thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate your vulnerability and honesty.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us today. As always, be sure to consult with legal and financial professionals to make sure you understand what is best for you and your business. As always, go be creative with your business.